Good afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the weekend preview. Obviously, international breaks here. There's still plenty of action to discuss, both in League One and League Two. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this Friday afternoon are Billy Mulley and Ben Wignall. Billy, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. Looking forward to seeing how these League One, League Two fixtures pan out.
Yeah, certainly some good fixtures to get into. Ben, how are you?
All right, yeah. I don't think many people enjoy the international break when you're a fan of Championship football, especially. But got some very tasty fixtures to look forward to, especially what looks to be a very big one in League One, which I'm sure we'll be talking about first.
Yeah, that is what we're going to get to straight away. People at home, people wherever you're watching, do get in touch with us. We're live for the next 20 or so minutes across YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Any comments you've got about the action coming up this weekend, it would be greatly appreciated if you do get in touch and let us know your predictions for the games ahead. But as Ben mentioned, big game to start this weekend preview off with, and that's Sheffield Wednesday at home to Bolton Wanderers. The Owls take on the Trotters at Hillsborough. I must be honest, a little bit surprised this one's going ahead when international breaks here. Always surprised to see a club like Sheffield Wednesday in particular with their amount of stars still playing, but they are sitting in 12th at the moment in the League One table. Bolton at 7th in League One. Ben, we'll come to you first of all with this one. How do you basically see it going? I mean, you look at the form, and Bolton are, they're showing a little bit more at the moment this season. Obviously, won their last two games and some good results in there. And I think they'll probably fancy getting another result at Hillsborough.
Yeah, I mean, I've been slightly disappointed by Sheffield Wednesday since their last international break. I think in the first four or so games of the season, no one could score against them. They were grinding out wins, but I think ever since that Morecambe defeat in the final game of August, they've just been a bit inconsistent. They've obviously got a very good win against Wigan away. But they've been dropping points that probably they shouldn't have been doing. Shrewsbury at home's one to think about. That was a 1-1 draw, and they obviously conceded to Oxford in the last minute last week, which Darren Moore won't be too happy about. And now they're facing the team that has hit some very impressive strides away from home. I know they lost to Sunderland a few weeks back, Bolton, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. Sunderland are a very strong team at the minute, and 9 goals, I think they scored in 2 games against Charlton and Ipswich away from home Bolton. So you can see that they're dangerous away from the Uniball. And I think Afolayan's the one to watch in this match. He's quickly becoming one of the stars of the division. He was on loan last season when they were in League Two. And he's already got a few goals this season. They just look really solid, Bolton away from home. It's not going to be easy, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday. A lot of very good players, and I know they're missing a few because of internationals. I know Bailey Peacock Farrell is with Northern Ireland, so I think Joe Wildsmith will probably get his chance. But it's a really, really tough one to call because obviously Sheff Wednesday had a decent win at Wigan. Bolton are in good form, so it's one of those that you could probably see a draw being a fair result.
Okay. Ben, you're going to go for a draw there. Billy, let's come to you. How do you see this one going? You look at the goals for column, for example. Bolton has scored double with Sheffield Wednesday so far this year. How does Sheffield Wednesday go about stopping Bolton, even though they are at home?
It's weird because against Charlton, it was a very tight game, and then Bolton sort of had that firepower to go on and sort of take the game out of sight. So it's a thing where they're going to have to be fully at it. Concentration levels be very high for the entire 90 minutes if they're going to get anything out of this game. And it's crazy to see that Sheffield Wednesday have only scored 10 goals this season because the players that they've got in the side, the likes of Bannon, the likes of Wing, and then you've got sort of Shadipo as well, who I thought was going to have a really good season after impressing with Oxford last time out. You've got sort of all these players that have got higher level pedigree as well. You wouldn't look out of place in the division above, and they're struggling to create chances and score goals. Whereas Bolton, on the other side of things, were struggling in League Two last season, and then put together a very, very good run, and they've managed to keep that sort of that pressure on into the higher division. So it's interesting to see how this one will go. Sheffield Wednesday always back them to get back to winning ways, but it's not really happening at the moment. So I think I'll probably go down the middle with this one, go for a 2-2 draw maybe.
Okay, that'll be entertaining enough at Hillsborough. I think I'm going to join you both on the fence for this first game. I'm going to sit on the fence Wednesday. Yeah, I think I'll go for a draw between Sheffield Wednesday and Bolton. Let's move away from that game then. Let's talk another League One fixture this weekend, and that's Ipswich against Shrewsbury. Two teams are in quite close proximity, actually, in the League One table at the moment. Not many would have expected that, I don't think, 10 games in to the year at the start of the season. But, of course, Ipswich, with so many signings, they're still trying to find a little bit of rhythm. And, of course, Shrewsbury have had a pretty tough start as well. Ben, let's look at Ipswich first of all. I think, despite them being quite close in the table, these two sides, this is a game that they will think they need to be winning. They should be winning. And it's just all about going out there and getting the result, really.
Yeah, I think Paul Cook will probably be a bit pig-sick after what happened against Accrington. And I know that Sam Morrissey came out and said they play like a non-league team, Accrington, which ruffled a few feathers. But the week before, midweek, they absolutely battered Doncaster 6-0. And they were towards the bottom of the table as well. And I think they've probably found the right opponent here at Ipswich to bounce back from last week's defeat. With Shrewsbury, I think the second bottom with just 2 wins, and you've just got that kind of feeling that it could be another one-sided affair for Ipswich again, and it's probably come at the right time as well. And I think they've only got one player in international duty in Celine. I think Morrissey's not being called up for Egypt in the end, so they've got a strong squad to pick from. They've got plenty of attacking midfielders to choose from for Celine's replacement. And I just think it's about getting the right balance for Cook. Obviously, he could go with 2 up top. Macaulay Bond's in good form, but he's also got Joe Pigott, who was in great form for Wimbledon last season, not got too much of a chance this season, but the option's there if he wants to change it. I personally can't see him altering from that kind of 4-2-3 one he likes. But if he can strike the right balance like he clearly did against Doncaster, I could see another big win for Ipswich, and they kind of need it just to start climbing up the table whilst the games come thick and fast.
Yeah, certainly do build that momentum. Billy, is there any case you can make for Shrewsbury getting a result? I guess the only sort of positive they can take is that they're still quite close to Ipswich in the table, so that they shouldn't feel looking at that at least that there's too much between the two sides.
Yeah, definitely. League One's proved to be very unpredictable early this campaign. Shrewsbury seemed to do enough last sort of few seasons, picking out results here and there. But it's been a relatively poor start by their standards. They're not sort of creating enough chances when looking at sort of the expected goals tally. They're not really keeping them out either. So it's not a very strong start. But Ipswich are opponents that they would never have imagined would be where they are. But that's what they'll be thinking right now. They'll be thinking that this is a game against a team that are relatively close to us in the table, and they're not hitting form at the moment. So why won't we be confident that we can take the game to them? And another thing with Shrewsbury is that they've tended to do pretty well against the teams that are around them so far this season, and teams in the top 12 is where they've really struggled. And in Ipswich's case, I mean, that they're really struggling for consistency. So I think Shrewsbury, in that respect, will have every right of going there with some confidence. But at the same time, I still expect Ipswich to turn it on once all these players are gelled in together. They're a championship squad, in my opinion.
Okay, we will see what happens this weekend at Portman Road. One final game to talk about in League One. That's Plymouth's match against Burton Albion. Two teams are going pretty nicely in League One at the moment, Ben. Third place for Plymouth, ninth place for Burton, just the 4 points between them. You look at Plymouth and they're a really likeable team, aren't they? But they're letting the draws creep in a bit. That's 3 and 4 now in their last 4 games. 5 matches that they've drawn overall so far this year. What can they do against a Burton team to make sure it's 3 points this weekend?
Well, I think Burton obviously started the season really well with quite a few wins strung together. Of course, they're the only team to beat Sunderland early on its season, but I think they've tailed off a little bit. I think they need Daniel Jebison to probably start firing in the goals. I think he's got 1 this season so far. I just think Plymouth are very strong since international break. I know that, like you said, a few draws have started to creep in, but let's go back to the Sheffield Wednesday win at the beginning of, middle of September, and it was just so clinical, and they've got firepower up front. I know Jeff Cott's missing this week because he's with Wales under-21 squad, but they've got Niall Ennis to come in for him. They've got Ryan Hardy, who's the player of the month for the league for for September, and I just think they've got, and as well they've got a manager who's a striker as well, so he's clearly knows how to get the best out of these players, and they've just got a lot of technically quality players all over the pitch. I just think that with Burton kind of on the slide a little bit, I know they're 9th in the table, but the recent form's hardly anything to shout about, and I just think that Plymouth might have a bit too much for me. I've got my fingers crossed. They're my banker from the betting show earlier in the day.
Yeah, no, I fancy Plymouth as well for this one. But Billy, looking at Burton, yes, their form is a little bit patchy and has been in recent weeks, but it's a good opportunity for them to, make a little statement of themselves and take on a team that's high flying, and just remind us that they're in this sort of playoff, potentially even promotion conversation for the rest of the season by getting a good result here.
Yeah, certainly, and that they'll be a very hard team to break down. I think they've proven that this season already, beating teams like Ipswich and Sunderland as well. So they're going to be a very, very tough outfit to play. And Plymouth, as you've said there, 3 draws in 4. They've started to sort of stumble a little bit when it comes to breaking teams down, and that might be a reason why they might not be so prolific this week as well. So be interesting to see how he lines up front. I don't know if with Jephcott missing that will sort of change the formation at all. I don't think it will, because as Ben said there's options there that can come straight into the side, and I think it's the draws that might start hindering their progress as sort of automatic promotion contenders. I still back that they'll do very well this season because of what I've seen, and where they have added this season has been very good, and they've built a squad that's quite capable of competing at the top end of the division. In terms of this game, I'm struggling between a narrow Plymouth win and a draw. So I think I'm going to, for the sake of not always going for draws, I'll go for a 1-0 Plymouth win.
Okay. Billy's going for a win there as well. Yep, Plymouth certainly looking good, but they will be eager to get back to winning ways with those draws starting to creep in. That rounds out our League One talk. Let's just drop into League Two for the remainder of the weekend preview. And we'll start with Forest Green Rovers taking on Swindon Town Saturday lunchtime. Ben, that looks like quite an attractive game, really, doesn't it? Near the top of League Two, obviously Forest Green really flying up, leading the way at the moment, and Swindon, as they so often are when they're in the 4th tier, are looking like contenders once again at the right end.
Yeah, I think Forest Green are just scoring for fun at the minute. They've put that kind of playoff disappointment from last season behind. They've got a new manager or head coach, in Rob Edwards, and I think the most impressive thing, aside from all the goals they're scoring, I think they've kept 5 clean sheets in a row in the league, and that'll be important for Edwards as a former centre back himself to, see his team keeping the ball out of the back of the net's a good thing, and it's no surprise to see him near the top of the league. They've kept a kind of consistent team from last season and carried it on to the next. But I think Swindon are a dangerous team. They showed last week against Bristol Rovers. Obviously, Bristol Rovers not in great form themselves, but I think that would have been a big confidence boost for Ben Garner, obviously against his former club to get a 3-1 win. And I think they'll probably believe they can go to Forest Green and get a result. I mean, they're not unbeatable at the new lawn. Port Vale went there a few weeks ago and got 2 early goals and held out for a 2-0 win. And Swindon probably think they can do the same. We've got a lot of talented players on that pitch, the likes of, Ben Gladwin, Jack Payne, players that you think can probably be playing in League One, as well as Johnny Williams as well, who I'm not sure why he's in League Two, but he should be too good for that level. I think Forest Green might have a tough game here. I could see, considering they've not conceded many in recent weeks, I could probably see a draw, maybe a low-scoring draw, but certainly don't think they'll run away with this with a win.
Okay, we will see what goes on there. Just Billy, quickly, what do you fancy in terms of result for this one?
Yeah, as Ben was saying there, I can expect it to be a very tight game. Both teams are very good at this level. Swindon, I don't think, have lost away from home this season. When I've seen them against Stevenage as well, they always look to play out from the back, play some very good football for League Two level. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be a walk in the park, but given Forest Green and how they've started their threat from all over the pitch, I think they'll just about sneak a win. They'll go for a 2-1 win.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree with that view. I think Forest Green might just edge out Swindon here and give themselves another big confidence boost for the rest of the season. Obviously, looking for that elusive promotion from League Two. Another team looking for promotion from League Two this year is Port Vale. They're high flying at the moment, sitting third in the league, 4 wins on the spin. They're travelling to Sutton United, who are in decent form themselves, it must be said. 11th in the League Two table, 4 wins out of their last 5, 2 wins on the bounce as well for the newly promoted team. Billy, let's come to you to this one. Port Vale are in great form, but Sutton will fancy themselves to get a win, wouldn't they, at home, I would expect?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as you said, it's sort of the battle of the informed teams. Sutton have been impressive the last 5 games. Even with that loss, they still look a decent outfit. But yeah, as you say, Port Vale were the toughest test that anybody can face in the division right now. So it'll be interesting to see sort of which statistic prevails, really. I think if Sutton can come away victorious, or even with a draw, they can be considered as genuine promotion contenders, because they started off relatively well. I know they sat bottom of the league, but they kept being undone by late goals, and now they've sort of found their feet in the division. They're really impressing, and one thing that's boding well for them at the moment is the fact that goals are coming from everywhere. It's not just one source of goals; it's coming from all over the shop, which is always a good thing. When I don't know if we can call them promotion contenders, but if people are going to be starting to call them promotion contenders, that's a very important factor. And I think what Sutton are finding now is that and I think quite a few other teams that have recently been promoted, I don't know if the top end of the National League, that level between League Two, I don't think there's actually too much in it. I think National League, top end of divisions, a very competitive division with a lot of good teams, and I think that they're using that to their advantage.
Okay. How do you see this one going, Bill?
I'm going to sit on the fence again.
Back on that fence.
Back on that fence, yeah, quickly enough. I'll go for a 2-2 draw. I can see it, yeah, being a few goals.
Okay, I'm going to go for Vale just to edge this one. Ben, what's your score prediction?
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Sutton win. That might come as a surprise, considering Vale have been in good form. I just think Sutton are getting used to, with these results now, to League Two, and obviously for the first time they've got a grass pitch. They've been playing on artificial surfaces in recent times, and they now just seem to be finding the feet, and that's probably been a big change going from from a 4G surface to grass. I can just see him maybe grinding out a 1-0 from a set piece or something like that.
Okay, yeah, no, they'd certainly be delighted with that this weekend. That's Sutton's game against Port Vale. Let's move to another League Two game, Newport County against Bradford. Obviously, Michael Flynn no longer at Newport. Ben, how do you see that potential dynamic affecting this game?
Well, I think last week we saw him have a very favourable game after he departed against Scunthorpe, who I don't think are much of a match for a lot of teams in this league. So I think the caretaker manager would have had quite an easy task there. This will be a bit of a different one. Bradford obviously are one of the powerhouses of the league. I think you'll have seen him Dags against Crawley, so you'll know more than me. But I think Adams might have a little bit more work to do to make them an automatic promotion side compared to what we've seen of other teams like Leyton, Orient and Forest Green. But I think that they could maybe perhaps get a draw out of this. I wouldn't be confident of Bradford going to Newport and getting a win. They still got a solid squad, Newport, despite the kind of indifferent start to the season. It's a shame that Flynn's left. I think he's a really talented coach, and he'll probably go on to perhaps get a League One club, perhaps even lower end Championship in times to come. But I can just see him having a steady little period here and probably kicking off with a draw here.
Yeah, no, I can see a draw between these two sides as well. Very, very close together in the table, as many of the teams are in League Two. Bradford 8th on 15 points. Newport just a point behind, but down in 12th shows how congested it is. Billy, who do you fancy for this one?
I'll jump off that fence again. I'm going to go in Bradford's favour this time. I think that they've just got a very strong squad. I know that doesn't sort of paint the whole picture, but they've also got a manager in Adams who's fresh off winning promotion from this division. And it seems that after this sort of inconsistent, well, not start because they started off well, but since that sort of opening 4 games, I think that they're due a win and due to get back onto that sort of promotion winning record. And yeah, I'd still fancy them as promotion contenders. So I think in this one, yeah, I'll go for a scrappy 1-0 Bradford win.
Okay, I think they'd be very pleased with that. 2 teams that, are quite often in the playoff conversation at points during the League Two campaign. So whenever they meet, it's normally quite an important fixture. 2 more to go in the weekend preview before we wrap up. And up next is Hartlepool's game against Northampton. Billy, looking at the League Two table, these are, 2 teams that, again, are very close together, but, 2 teams that are quite out of form. Hartlepool haven't won in 4. Not Bradford, we just talked about Bradford. Northampton haven't won in 3. Can you make a case for either of those sides winning this weekend, or, potentially you're back on your fence and it could be a draw between 2 teams that are a little bit out of form at the moment?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one because Hartlepool, as sort of dodgy as their form has been in recent weeks after a strong start, they've been excellent at home this season. I think they've only dropped 2 points in 5 games, so 13 from 5 is a brilliant return so far. And in that respect, that's why I can see them doing well. But then Northampton, we've spoken a lot about how compact they are. Grinding out results. It hasn't been the same the last few games, but they're a team that have just been relegated. They'll still have sort of the talent that they had in the higher division. But yeah, again, I don't want to keep going to my fence because it's getting a bit embarrassing now, but I can't really make a case for either side to go on and win this game. It'll either take a mistake or a bit of brilliance, but apart from that, yeah, I'm going to go a boring 0-0.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think all the signs suggest to me that it is going to be a draw between Hartlepool and Northampton as well. Ben, is there is there a little bit of inkling of information that you've got that might suggest one of these is going to emerge victorious this weekend?
When do I ever have information? I think I'm concerned about Hartlepool. I think the Tyler Bury's goals earlier in the season were quite pivotal to getting some results, and now he's out for a few months. I think he already has been out for at least a month already. It's the goals have kind of dried up. I think they're doing okay for a newly promoted team though. It's a few places below Sutton in the table, so both of them are doing all right. I can just see maybe a 1-0 win for Northampton. I think earlier in the season they were scoring a few from set pieces, and I think it could go that way again. So I'll go for a narrow Northampton away win.
Okay, we will see what happens there. One final game to touch on before we go, and that's Harrogate against Scunthorpe. Second meets 24th in the League Two table. We've obviously spoken at length on this show how close it is in the 4th tier right now. So many teams bunched together on points, but Scunthorpe would give anything to be bunched near Harrogate at the moment. They're completely different ends of the table. Ben, is there any argument you can make for Scunthorpe getting a result here?
Probably not. I know Harrogate have only won one of the last 5, but I think this is a bit of an easier task to what they've had. I think there's a few draws in that time frame as well. But I think I mentioned on the betting show earlier, Harrogate are one of my picks. The Scunthorpe, the transfer business they did in the summer, I wasn't really convinced by it. There was quite a few players that have come from non-league but have played in the league, so they've dropped out and come back up without really doing too much. And I'm quite concerned for them. Obviously, they're right at the foot of the table now, and I just don't really see a way out for them right now, unless they can do some magical January transfer business. But Harrogate have continued to impress above a lot of big teams in the division on a fraction of the budget. So I can only see a clear Harrogate win here. Maybe Luke Armstrong, who's in decent form, getting on the score sheet again. I'll go 3-0 Harrogate.
I can see a pretty convincing Harrogate win as well against Scunthorpe this weekend. Billy, clean sweep, or do you think the the wonderful league that is League Two is going to throw up another surprise result this weekend between these two.
Yeah, what you were saying to Ben there, is there sort of any reason why Scunthorpe can win this game? And the only reason I can logically see being there is that League Two is a mad division. Football's a mad game. But apart from that, no, I've been very impressed with Harrogate. They're a very experienced side, but they've brought the likes of Jack Diamond back to the club, sort of adding an extra dimension. And I think that will bode well in what is going to be a promotion push this year. Then Scunthorpe are really struggling at the moment. Surprised to see the other day that back ahead of the 2018-2019 League One season, they were, I think, 4 favourites to win promotion from League One. So it's been a very big decline for them, and it's not nice to see because they've given the EFL quite a lot of good memories. But yeah, at the moment it seems to be pointing one way, and yeah, for that reason I think I'll go quite convincing with a Harrogate 3-1 win maybe.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Looks like it could potentially be another tough week for Scunthorpe. They'll do all they can, I'm sure, to try and prove us wrong and probably quite a few others wrong as well against Harrogate this weekend. Right, that brings an end to this week's weekend preview here on Football League World TV. No more shows from us this week. We'll be back on Monday with the weekend review. I think I'm back for that one. I think Billy and Ben, you might be back for that one as well. We'll have to double check. We'll make sure we find that out before the show goes live. But Billy, Ben, thank you very much for joining me this weekend. Hope you have a good weekend. People at home, wherever you've been watching, thanks for joining us as well. If you can subscribe to us on YouTube, that'd be greatly appreciated with Football League World TV. We'll be back next week, as I say. But from us here for now, it's bye for now.